Ils vont annoncer Uber Katarina, ils vont annoncer Uber Abyss, ils vont annoncer Buff Dark Mage, ils vont annoncer un Survivor-like, des nouvelles transgemmes et GG. Et GG. GG à tous. Changement sur Ultimatum, GG à tous. GG à tous. Cluster Jewel dans l'Atlas, GG. GG. Patch Only Reflex, aucun changement, t'imagines? Non, 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 j'y crois pas. Ok, silence, 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 silence. Je vais mettre ici, je pense. Squark Mage, on verra plus tard.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
C'est Chris.
Welcome to our live stream.
C'est pas Marc.
We have a busy lineup today with announcements for Path of Exile 2, as well as the exclusive reveal of Path of Exile Necropolis, which launches on March 29th. For the first time ever, we'll be releasing this expansion simultaneously on all platforms, PC, Mac, and console. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Suffering back attachment. Today's stream will start with Path of Exile 2, where Jonathan will show you our latest announcements. Mark will then take you on a deep dive into the new Path of Exile Necropolis Challenge League, which launches in 1 week. He'll cover the league mechanics, its deep crafting system, large endgame changes, some improvements to the core Path of Exile campaign, and finally some quality of life features. We'll then show you our new supporter packs, and we'll head into a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask us your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Hey guys, it's time to chat about Theory 2 again. It's only been a few months since we talked about the Mercenary, and yet even since then, a huge amount has changed. When we announced the Mercenary, we also showed off a lot of the new capabilities that our engine has around animation and character control. Moving while shooting was a huge deal in that class, but there were a lot of other more subtle things going on to make it feel good too. Well, in recent times, we've only been showing off new character classes, but one thing I've been really excited about is to go back and apply all the new we have to our old classes too. Today, I'd like to show off the Ranger, and I hope that you guys like what you see.
I like what I see.
Ooh, another?
I've lived in this forest all my life. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that a ranger must never miss.
Bocax.
A beast will hunt you. But it is the cruelty of man I fear. I'll take your finger! There is no truly escaping the Count's justice.
Your sentence is to be hanged from the neck until dead. Let your souls feed the first ones, and your bodies feed the land. After her!
Pas très sophistiqué leur système quand même, hein. Ah, je sais, mais... On dirait que c'était...
This exile has changed me. No more running. No more fear.
You won't get away this time.
Peut-être mieux qu'on Ariel, hein. Damn, l'animation du stun.
Put an end to this madness.
Ah, Chocobo! Jure, le Chocobo!
Let this be a warning, Gianor. I'm coming for you next.
Open World, non, je pense que c'est un skill, non? C'est un skill ou alors peut-être qu'elle peut dompter des mobs, je sais pas trop.
Let the hunt begin.
Putain, c'est beau, hein.
When we started to work on the Ranger, we knew we had to make a class with high agility. The dream of fast bow gameplay is Legolas, so that's what we wanted to deliver.
Le mouvement en même temps de tirer avec
WSD, moving while shooting a bow. Any kind of basic arrow skill can be fired while moving, with a movement penalty. This immediately gives you a lot more freedom on the battlefield. Here, I'm starting each battle with a poison burst arrow to poison groups of enemies, then using a lightning arrow to arc lightning around larger packs. For even more mobility, we also have a variety of skills that involve vaulting around the battlefield too. This is Frost Escape. Using it jumps backwards and shoots a freezing arrow at the ground. Really useful if monsters close on you and you need to get away. Once you've landed, if monsters were frozen, it would be nice to have some way to take advantage of that extra time. This is where Snipe comes in. Snipe is a skill shot that you need to charge up and release at exactly the right time. If you land the right timing, Snipe is guaranteed to produce a critical strike, and does a small AoE as well, so it's a great finisher.
Ça me fait penser à Hades, ça. C'est exactement pareil.
You can also move while shooting arrow rain skills too. This skill is Lightning Rod. It shoots an arrow into the air that sticks into the ground and does a small AoE. Once the rods are in the ground though, they attract any arcs of lightning that are nearby, causing them to explode again. This means you can stack up a bunch of lightning rods on the ground and bounce lightning between them, doing way more damage. Now this takes care of packs pretty well, but for bigger enemies I'd like to have something that's going to enhance my damage output too. This skill is Stormcaller Arrow. Using it sticks an arrow into an enemy. After a short period of time, a lightning bolt comes from the sky and strikes them. This has a high chance to shock them, and shocked enemies take 30% more damage from all sources. If something big walks along, it's a good idea to throw one of these at them first to enhance your damage before following up with the other combo. Now, if I really want to enhance this combo, there are a couple of things I could do using our support gem system. Skills in Path of Exile are granted by items called skill gems. Each skill gem has coloured sockets in it, and these sockets are for other items called support gems. Support gems modify your skills, and it's where a huge amount of the customization of your character comes from. First, I'm going to take this multiple projectile support gem. I could add it to my lightning arrow, and it would fire multiple arrows. This would increase the number of targets I can hit, but that isn't the effect that I'm after. If I add it to my lightning rod skill instead, then when I fire it, I get a nice group of rods. This means that I don't have to spend as much time setting up before I can use it with my lightning arrow combo. I might also add faster projectiles to make the lightning rods land faster too.
Ça te permet de gagner de l'overlap.
Now next up I'm going to grab this chain support gem. Chaining causes many effects to repeat on new targets when you hit them. If I add it to my lightning arrow, it will cause the arcs that come out of lightning arrow to strike even more targets, rippling along my line of lightning rods for huge amounts of damage.
Avec le mouvement du personnage comme ça, c'est bizarre un peu.
Now I think we can use support gems to improve Stormcaller Arrow as well. Let's start simple. I'm going to chuck less duration on here. This will cause the lightning from the sky to strike a bit faster. Next up, we have a support called Shock Proliferation. This support makes it so that any enemies shocked by the skill will also have the shock jump to nearby enemies, meaning they'll take the extra damage as well.
Vous avez vu le poison?
It's just a chance to proc, so it's not going to proc on every single pack, but when it does, a pack will go down ultra quick.
J'ai l'impression qu'il y a des visuels sur le choc qui prolifèrent.
Another useful empowering skill is Barrage. Barrage is one of the rare cooldown skills in PoE 2. It enhances whatever your next attack is to fire 3 times. With what we have here, I think it might be a good idea to use it with Lightning Arrow. It'll generate 3 times as many lightning explosions.
Okay, c'est stylé.
You could also use it at just the right moment with Snipe, or any number of other skills depending on what effect you need more of right now. It's very versatile and can be used in a range of situations. Now, even as mobile as the Ranger is, it's still very useful to slow monsters down, and a Ranger certainly has quite a few tools to do this. If you're prepared to get up close and personal, we have a skill called Electrocuting Rod. First, jump over the enemy and shoot it into them. Once the rod's in place, any lightning damage they take will build up a special electrocute gauge. Once the gauge is full, the monster is totally suppressed, allowing you to kill them easily. Now, sometimes when you use Electrocuting Rod, the enemy dies before you get a chance to electrocute them. I think there's another support gem I could add to my lightning arrow to fix this problem. Neural Overload will make it easier to electrocute enemies. If the skill it's attached to puts them over 50% of their electrocute bar, it will trigger instantly.
Évidemment, je préfère largement les outils comme ça, perso. Grand fan de l'idée de snipe et barrage.
Now this skill works really well for suppressing a single large enemy, but I'd like to improve my crowd control ability for groups as well. I'm going to add a support gem called Frozen Nexus to my Frost Escape. This makes an area of chilled ground around frozen enemies. I'll also add Deep Freeze to it as well, which will make the freezes last a bit longer.
Ok. Ça c'est un peu osef, hein.
Now when I use my Frost Escape on that front enemy, others nearby are slowed down. It would also be good if I had a way to slow enemies down when they're farther away from me as well. So this would be a great time to start getting into the ranger's poison and plant-based skill set. To start with, let's have a look at Vine Arrow. This skill fires an arrow into the air that creates a small plant where it lands. The plant sends out tendrils to nearby enemies, slowing them down and poisoning them. But it does have another function too. If the plant gets further poison, it transfers that poison to the monsters it's attached to. Normally you would only be able to get one stack of poison on a monster at a time, but you can put as much poison as you want on this plant.
C'est fini le stacking de poison
infini. You could just use the plant to slow monsters down and not worry about the poison part. But if you want to go all in on poison, this is the way to do it. Now if you do want to focus on poisons more, another useful skill is Poison Bloom Arrow. This skill creates these plant pustules on the ground. If you wait a little while, they'll explode. Just like any other plant skill, these plants respond well to poison. Shoot the Poison Burst arrow at enemies nearby and watch your plants grow more and more powerful. Poisoning the pustules causes them to do much more damage and makes them explode much faster as well. I can also add the Pierce support to Poison Burst arrow. Doing this will mean I get multiple Poison Bursts as it goes through each monster.
Ça fait très Scourge Arrow, hein. Sauf qu'il n'y a pas la plaque au sol, quoi. Mais visuellement, putain. Les impacts sont tellement bons. Après, comme ils avaient dit, c'est très support. Il n'y a pas de damage multiplier sur les supports. Hein.
We also have another skill to make a nice environment
cette quality of life là.
Gas Cloud Arrow. This skill shoots the ground and creates a cloud of gas that continuously poisons things inside it. Throw your plants down, then put a gas cloud on top. The constant poisoning will make them grow.
Ok.
Another poison-related skill we have on the Ranger is called Plague Bearer. This is a reservation skill, meaning it uses Spirit. When I enable it, I get this counter that counts up whenever I apply poison to a monster.
Click.
You can see the counter on the skill increasing as each new monster is poisoned. Now I'm going to fight these monsters and make sure to poison them as much as I can to build up the counter.
Actuellement, t'as écrit 300 000, enfin 200 000 du coup. Pourcentage, c'est un peu plus agréable quand même.
It does take quite a while to get the counter up to 100%, but it's worth it. Whenever I choose, I can unleash the poison in a big explosion around my character, dealing a large amount of damage.
Okay.
Now next up we have a classic, Rain of Arrows. It's simple. Shoot a bunch of arrows in the sky, and they rain down for a short time. It's decent AoE and damage at long range.
Il y a même le visuel sur la barre de vidéo, même j'ai pas vu.
But we can change that. It's time to introduce Frenzy Charges. Frenzy Charges are used for a variety of skills on the Ranger, but with Rain of Arrows they can be used to extend their duration. How do we get some though? Here we have a skill called Sniper's Mark. Put it on an enemy and it will grant you a Frenzy Charge when you crit them. Now remember that Snipe skill from earlier? That skill guarantees a critical hit. So first we Sniper's Marked an enemy, then we sniped them. And after that, the next Rain of Arrows will last a really long time. We still have some weaknesses though. While Rain of Arrows hits enemies with a ton of arrows, each one doesn't do much damage individually. It would be nice if we had a way to break the armor on enemies so that Rain of Arrows dealt more damage. Thankfully, we have this Corrode Armor support gem, and we can put it on our Gas Cloud arrow. Corrode Armor causes poison to erode the armor on targets until it's all gone. This will significantly increase the damage that Rain of Arrows does against armored targets. Oh yeah, and one more thing about gas clouds. They can be detonated with explosions. I have an explosive arrow here. Let's check it out.
Oh, j'ai pas vu le truc exploser, hein. Attends, il y avait un damage multiplier là-dessus.
Now, because monsters and gas clouds are likely to have their armor broken, I think there's another useful combo we can do. This is an exploit weakness support. This support provides extra bonus damage to targets that have their armor broken.
Cette PoE là.
Perfect for what we have going on here. So, those are just some of the skills we have on the Ranger class in Path of Exile 2. Now that we've seen all these skills, let's see how well they do against a much tougher enemy. It's time to fight the boss of the temples, Thanos.
Thanos. Et boss fight de fou. Il a raté. On va rien dire. Pas de cercle rouge au sol. Ça commence bien. Il mise tous ses pods, il met bien. Les télégraphes sont bons. Ça c'est du bon design. Ne joke hein. Eh les gars, ils avaient dit que les boss seraient difficiles hein. J'ai dernière interview, il a dit... Putain, c'était des Chaos Orbs. C'est des Chaos Orbs qui l'agressent. What the fuck. Il avait dit, il veut que les joueurs meurent 2 fois avant de réussir la 3ème. C'est clair que ça va être chaud hein. Faut dire ça hein. Oh damn! Tu vois qu'il y a tellement de mécaniques en même temps en vrai! Pour un boss de campagne! Putain, j'aime tellement! Oh, j'aime tellement! Oh, j'aime tellement! Ouh, par contre, ça fait pas beaucoup de dégâts, j'ai l'impression, mais. Vous cliquez sur les flasques, monsieur? Ok. Les thunes. Je sais pas s'il cache les items sans filtre.
That's the Ranger. But oh yeah, there was one more thing. The mount. Check this out. Yes, you can ride a rower. While riding the rower, you can shoot arrows with no movement penalty.
Je suis pas expert en roi, mais...
You can also use your vaulting skills to jump right off the rower's back. Once the rower doesn't have a rider, it starts attacking monsters, so he's nice to have around, even if you're not riding him. That said, if you are riding, don't get hit. If you take a heavy stun while on a rower, you'll fall off, and it takes a while to get up.
Tu peux pas de MS quand tu castes quand t'es dessus.
So that's what we wanted to show you today. Now there is just one more rather unfortunate bit of news. Path of Exile 2's beta is going to be delayed. We previously said that we would get the beta out on June 7th.
No!
And while I think we would be able to get the game's content ready in time, we underestimated how long it would take to get gameplay polished to a standard that we're happy with. We're still going to be doing alpha testing in June, but we're going to be delaying the beta until later in the year.
Okay, bon,
I don't have an exact date for you today,
okay, ça va,
but it should be towards the end of the year.
Ok, ça va, ça va,
In the
ça va,
meantime,
ça va.
you can still play Path of Exile 1, of course.
En gros, la bêta est reportée.
Now,
il y aura une alpha cet été, en juin comme prévu, mais la bêta pour tout le monde elle est reportée.
Hand over to Mark, the game director on PoE 1, to show us what's in store.
We had a lot of fun making this one, so let's just get straight into it with the trailer for Path of Exile Necropolis.
Survivor.
Cold flesh, dirt, maggots, and ghosts. Our job is to keep them where they belong. It's your first night, so you'll need this.
On explore un musée.
Ghostly lantern for ghastly tinkering.
Oh! Oh non, c'est des mignons. Que tu veux.
You'll learn learn to peer into the souls of the dead. You'll learn how to twist them. What? Meet me in the necropolis. You can pilfer shiny things from a corpse, but you can pilfer glorious things from a soul. I need a grave digger.
Tiens, this map. Quoi? Quoi? On peut avoir plusieurs traits. New penultimate bosses. Quoi? Oh, des nouvelles troisièmes. Wait, what? Oh, what the... Oh, Bossing League. Bossing League. Ok, peut-être que je jouais ça en fait. J'ai peut-être joué... Ouais, c'est ça en fait.
In the Necropolis League, you will encounter Undertaker Aramor, a man collecting the scattered spirits of the Eternal Empire for a mysterious purpose. These spirits have begun to haunt the monsters of Rayclast, unleashing their ancient fury and sorrow onto the world.
Ok, ça possède des mobs,
des zones. The Undertaker will provide you with the Lantern of Aramor, a powerful family heirloom which can illuminate the wrathful spirits haunting monsters throughout Rayclast. With it, the Undertaker hopes to employ you to rid Rayclast of this menace and further his cryptic cause.
C'est marrant, c'est le même visuel que le skin qu'il y a eu.
The lantern can be used when entering any new area. When peering through it, you can examine the spirits haunting that area. The lantern also allows you to manipulate them, letting you configure which monsters are affected by which mods.
Oh!
It would be wise to take your time with your decisions here, for the spirits are not forgiving.
Vraiment?
When peering through the lantern, you can also see extra details about the packs of monsters in the area. Rowers here are considered common, whereas the water elementals are more scarce. If you want things to be easier, you can put the more difficult spirits on the elementals, which you'll encounter less often.
Que tu mets sur le mob,
we've tried to make sure that by engaging with the lantern, you are able to intelligently control the difficulty in the Necropolis League. The spirits come in a number of forms which represent the danger they pose. For example here, the infested vultures are servant haunted, causing them to deal a small amount of increased damage. But the Vol's vanguard are noble haunted, causing them to deal a large amount of increased damage. As you reach higher level areas in Rayclast, the tier and number of spirits that are haunting monsters will generally increase. Your game knowledge can help you here. If you're aware of the composition of a monster pack, this means certain mods will be easier to manage. For example, the mod that increases a pack's damage for every monster killed has no effect on packs with a single monster, like a Devourer. However, if we found a spirit that makes the strongest monster in a pack deal 100% more damage, well, I'm going to avoid the Devourer. You might have noticed that the Lantern of Aramor provides other useful information, such as the types of abilities monsters use or the damage types they deal. So for those who are less familiar with how these monsters work, this can be a great way to learn what you're up against. The spirits are constantly moving throughout Rayclast, so if you are finding a campaign area too difficult, you can just wait a few minutes and peer through the lantern again to see what's changed. Of course, powerful spirits beget powerful rewards. There are two reasons why you might want to face a challenge now and then. Firstly, not all the spirits are malicious. Sometimes the monsters aren't haunted at all, but are instead devoted. These can grant basic rewards like increased experience, or bigger rewards like spawning the Nameless Seer, an NPC that will grant you a single unique item after you defeat all of the packs affected by that spirit.
Okay.
The more haunted monsters you defeat in the previous area before using the lantern, the more likely the devoted monsters will appear in the next area. Monsters haunted by higher tier spirits will increase the chance of the devoted appearing even more, meaning that sometimes it's worth putting the hardest modifier possible on very common monsters, if you're brave enough. Again, we've tried hard here to allow players to customize the danger and rewards as much as they can. Aramor is an Undertaker, and you can probably guess what we're taking to him. The second main reward from the Necropolis League is monsters with unresolved anguish. Once slain, their corpses need extra care from the Undertaker, and he will offer to take them back to his necropolis and store them in the morgue.
Ah, c'est ça. Et du coup, ce modifier, tu peux le mettre sur
Time
des
to
systèmes.
earn your keep. When you are ready, you can visit the morgue to view the monsters you have collected, and then get to work burying them in one of many graves in Aramore's cemetery. For example, we will bury this Katava's Herald. Aramore's mysterious soul experiments can coalesce powerful items. Here I've chosen to create a pair of boots.
What? Non, c'est juste tu crées une nouvelle paire de bottes. Avec 50 plus de chances d'avoir des movement speed.
These boots are useful for my character, but aren't exactly what I hoped for. And this is where the Necropolis crafting system really shines. You'll have noticed that the corpse we collected earlier had a crafting
vous avez pas vu,
effect
c'était
on
de la merde.
it. In fact, all
C'est de la
collected
merde.
corpses do.
20% de MS, 60
If you
life
bury multiple corpses in the
de-
cemetery, all adjacent corpses can be exercised at once to create one item. All of the crafting effects on those corpses will apply to that same
C'est
item.
juste une histoire de weight.
This allows you to have either one
Wait,
or
what?
many different
Plus
crafting
un
projects
explicite.
ongoing in the cemetery. For example, next time I try to create boots, I could bury corpses that increase the chance of getting move speed modifiers. To go further, I could use these to generate higher tier modifiers. Then, I could try to bias it towards being an evasion pair with this.
Ok.
Finally,
Et tout faire en
I'll
même
apply
temps?
some crafting effects that improve the probability of getting good rolls.
Ok. Et tout en même temps?
Now, let's craft our item and see what we get.
Ok, c'est insane, pardon. Ok, je pensais que c'était un par un. Ok, c'est insane. Ok. Ok,
As you can
d'accord.
see now, we have a much better pair of boots,
Ok, c'est bon.
forged from the souls of our enemies. You could even use the entire cemetery to craft one item. There is always something you can do to try and ensure your item will be as best as it can be.
Ok, c'est stylé.
We hope to see some really crazy grave crafts. If you are lucky, you might find corpses with meta crafting modifiers.
No.
These can be buried to manipulate your crafting projects in more drastic ways. This one increases the potency of all crafting effects of adjacent undead corpses. Another meta crafting modifier gives a chance to drop an extra item from your craft, with all the same crafting outcomes applied. All you have to do is bury a lot of undead monsters.
Wow, c'est big.
You can
ça a
also
pas l'air
craft
très dur à
new
prendre en
unique
main, je veux
items
dire.
exclusive to the Necropolis
Tu fais
League
des
using
HP, tu
the
mets HP, quoi.
system. As you explore
C'est une
Rayclast,
histoire de
you
gestion
might
de
find
weights,
the
non?
corpses of famous Eternal Empire families. And when you bury an entire family together and exorcise them, they will thank you with a unique specific to their lineage.
Ok. Enterrer des grands morts, là.
For example,
Dans des
the
familles
Navalius
entières, hein.
Inheritance Belt. I'll give you a moment to check that out.
Reduce effects. Flask applied to you have increased effect per level.
You can use other corpses alongside them to grant implicit mods, manipulate the values of explicit mods, and more. In this case, with the Parandus Pact, you can even change the modifiers it generates.
Pas mal du tout. Large en plus.
This unique is a jewel which adds extra stats to passive skills in a radius when socketed into
40%
the
parce que t'as
passive skill
100%
tree.
less dessus.
The stats it adds are randomly generated, but you can bias it towards a specific type by using other crafting effects, such as this one, which increases the chance of getting life modifiers. Let's see what we get.
Après, tu veux forcément un truc qui gère les bases, sinon c'est de la merde. Ça va target un unique? Ah ouais.
Damn, we didn't get it this time. I guess we're gonna have to go and collect more corpses.
Ok.
Of course,
Ok.
you can trade the
Comment dire?
corpses away to other players. All you need to do is purchase empty coffins from the Undertaker and use them on your corpses in the morgue, which will itemize them.
Ok. Tradable.
Another item in the Necropolis League that you can find are Embers of the All-Flame. These are monster spirits that remain living in the All-Flame, a powerful ancient artifact of Rayclast. And you can set them free by placing them in the Lantern of Aramore and defeating them. These embers drop throughout Rayclast as itemized packs of monsters.
Avant de rentrer dans
You
une
are
zone, tu peux
able
les
to
mettre.
use these packs to replace the packs in areas. For example, we have found this all-flame ember.
Mais comment tu fais pour les maps? Parce que ça me perturbe là.
We can now go to enter the next area and
C'est bien
replace one
gentil,
of the
mais...
monster packs in here. You can see we have also gotten one of the devoted modifiers to appear. We can pair up the Karui ancestors with this modifier, making them even more rewarding. Let's go ahead and replace the tentacle miscreations. However, when replacing packs, you want to double check their density, as the new pack will inherit the density of the replaced pack. The Karui ancestors we have now added to our area can even drop basic variations of tattoos. If you aren't aware, this is an item type from the Trial of the Ancestors League, which can be used on passive skills to change what they do. There are many different types of itemized packs. You can find Breach and Legion monsters that drop splinters, untainted packs that provide insane amounts of experience, and even simple frogs, which can be used to replace difficult monsters to make life easier. And of course, these ember monsters can be raised as
Tattoo is back.
Finally, let's discuss how this league works in in-game maps. Each in-game map will allow you to manipulate it using the lantern on the map device UI. However, instead of randomly cycling every few minutes, it is fixed to that map.
Mais ça veut dire que t'es
Once you
baisé.
view the map through the lantern, you cannot remove it from the map device. So you can't trade that map away now that you've seen it as too difficult for you, or has monsters in it that you'd rather avoid, like porcupines. We're also trying something new this time around. During the Necropolis League, there will be support for the League on the Atlas passive tree.
Oh, il y a une nouvelle question dans
Multiple clusters will be there, allowing you to enhance the gameplay, customize it, and even change its behavior in meaningful ways.
Okay.
One way that you can change the crafting in a meaningful way is with the Prospero's Wager Keystone. With this keystone, all the monsters with unresolved anguish come with this crafting modifier, which causes them to generate a random craft when buried. This means instead of pre-planning your crafts, you have to adapt to them on the fly to get the best results. These clusters will not be available in Standard League. In 3.24, we've made a plethora of changes to the endgame. We're introducing new bosses, adding another tier of maps, and streamlining the Atlas. The most difficult and most rewarding content in Path of Exile can be found in Uber Pinnacle bosses, such as the Maven and the Searing Exarch. Currently, the only way to access these bosses is by allocating specific keystones on the Atlas passive tree.
Yes.
While this system offers a nice element of control,
ils vont les
it causes a problem.
Ils vont les
rewards and access to the non-Uber variants are now economically priced around the rewards of the Uber fights.
Ils vont les séparer.
This means it is wasteful to run the non-Uber variants instead of simply selling them.
Préparez-vous à applaudir.
Another problem that we noticed is the difficulty jump between the Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content was relatively large, and there wasn't obvious content that could bridge this gap. Many players would give up on their characters before being able to defeat the Uber Pinnacle bosses. In 3.24, we will be making some changes to this. We are removing the keystones that give access to the Uber Pinnacle bosses from the Atlas tree, and instead we'll be adding a new set of fragments that give you access to this content. Where do you get these fragments? We are adding a new tier of maps. Tier 17 maps, which not only give you access to the Uber Pinnacle content, but also test your characters in new ways. They feature a new set of bosses, Uber monsters, and a new tier of modifiers that can roll on the maps. There are 5 new Tier 17 maps in total, with some surprising boss fights at the
combien de temps qu'on n'a pas eu de nouvelle map?
We'll look at a couple today, and the rest you'll have to discover for yourself.
Ok, nouveau tiers de map.
We have the Citadel map.
Les Uber et les autres sont séparés.
Ancient Kalguran Citadel. You will encounter many expedition monsters as the signature packs throughout the map.
Et il y a des nouveaux contenus dans les tiers 17.
Fight Uber Uhtred. This is a version of a boss from Expedition League, with all its abilities and mechanics enhanced. Uber Uhtred will even be able to summon 2 other expedition bosses to aid it during the fight.
Okay.
Secondly, we have the Fortress map. This map is an impregnable fortress, guarded by monsters from the Heist League. At the end, you will encounter an Uber version of the Unbreakable. Again, it has enhanced abilities and mechanics you'll have to learn and overcome. Each of the Tier 17 map bosses has a chance to drop a unique item, allowing for some target farming. However, these aren't entirely new unique items. Instead, we've taken other unique items, removing them from the core drop pool and rebalancing them to fit here.
Diadème sur les Uber.
One example is this reworked version of Wraith Lord. It has 4 Abyss sockets and allows you to summon an additional Spectre for each Ghastly Eye jewel socketed into it.
Wow, stylé.
Another example is Mana Storm. This has been rebalanced to grant a lot more damage than before, alongside some more impactful mana stats, if you can get lucky rolls. Alongside adding Tier 17 maps, we have also changed the Uber Pinnacle bosses to have completely distinct unique item drop pools from their non-Uber counterparts. This means there is a reason to farm both versions. Let's take a look at the Shaper versus the Uber Shaper.
Incroyable.
The Shaper will drop these uniques: Voidwalker, Shaper's Touch, Solstice Vigil, and Dying Sun.
Incroyable.
Whereas the Uber Shaper will drop these: Echoes of Creation, Sublime Vision, Entropic Devastation, Starforge, and a new unique belt called the Tides of Time.
En gros, les versions normales et les versions Uber ont un pool de drop différent.
Another example of a new unique is this helmet from the Uber Eater of Worlds, Ravenous Passion, and these gloves from the Uber Searing Exile, the Celestial Grace. Each of the Uber Pinnacle bosses has a new unique added to their drop pools. We've identified another major problem with the endgame we'd like to address.
Celui de gauche était incroyable.
With every expansion added to the game, we have been increasing the complexity of running maps. It's at the point now where a player must repeatedly execute a large sequence of steps to run maps efficiently.
Quoi?
It can be easy to forget critical steps, and it can be tiring to repeat them. To solve this, we are removing some systems, but are keeping what is good about them.
Attends.
The 2 main systems we've removed are Sextants and the Master Mission Selector. It is not our intention to dull the content, however. We've completely reworked Scarabs to include most of the options that were previously covered by those mechanics, and many, many more. Let's take a look at some of them. Commonly, you might find Scarabs that simply grant access to different content. Here, we have a Scarab that causes Beyond Demons to spawn when killing monsters in your maps.
Nice.
And here, we have one that adds a Delirium Mirror. Each type of Scarab now has multiple versions, so if you want to fully invest in a type of content, you can do so.
À droite.
Here's a suite of Ultimatum Scarabs. This Ultimatum Scarab adds an Ultimatum encounter to a map.
Classique.
This Ultimatum Scarab of Bribing then causes that Ultimatum encounter to grant better rewards and its monsters to yield more experience.
Ultimatum
This Ultimatum Scarab of Dueling will cause that Ultimatum encounter to always guarantee the Trial Master boss fight at the end, assuming you can survive through all the rounds. This Ultimatum Scarab of Catalyzing will cause all rewards from that ultimatum to be catalysts instead of other rewards.
Ça, c'est très big.
And finally, this Ultimatum Scarab of Inscription will cause all catalyst rewards from that ultimatum to be inscribed ultimatums instead. There are plenty of others. If you enjoy divination card farming, you might want to use these. This Divination Scarab of Curation causes more divination cards to drop for each different favored map you have selected. But it also causes whatever map you're running to only drop divination cards from those favored maps. So if you want to try and aim for your Mage Blood and don't want to just farm Crimson Temple, then this Scarab is for you. This Divination Scarab of Completion causes your divination cards to have a 20% chance to drop as a full stack instead for maximum dopamine. Basically, there are now just a lot of Scarabs. You might have also noticed that they no longer have tiers. Scarabs are now all world drops. You can get them anywhere. Some might be rarer than others, but the intention is that there'll be a lot more options than before, and more interesting combinations to consider. If you want to target specific Scarabs, Betrayal has been updated to include most of them, and you will need to relearn which ones come from where. While this system is allowing you to heavily invest in one type of content, it is reducing your capacity for variety. To address this, we have massively increased access to content on the Atlas passive tree. You are now able to reliably get different leagues like Breach or Legion from just your Atlas passive.
De 5% à 8%? Wow.
Regarding Master Missions, content such as Incursion, Delve, Betrayal, and Bestiary, these too are now accessible with Scarabs, and have more reliable investment options on the tree. Not only this, you can now get Jun, Einhar, Alva, and Nico to appear together in the same map. We have also removed some keystones such as Wandering Path, Grand Design, and Growing Hordes. But I've added some new ones too.
Il y a un nouveau cluster de scarabs.
Unwavering Vision, Back to Basics, and Thorough Exploration.
Quoi?
And we have added some new notables such as Remarkable Relics, which allows you to try find better variants of scarabs. Mounting Modifiers, which increases the values of modifiers on your maps by 2% for each explicit modifier. And Tainted Carapaces, which is just one in a set of many that allow you to target farm specific types of scarabs. These are just a few of the many new notables that can be found on the Atlas passive skill tree. Lastly, we are giving you more flexibility in what content you want to run in the endgame. In 3.24, you can now have multiple copies of the Atlas tree, which can be swapped between maps at your leisure. You can unlock up to 2 extra trees for a total of 3 by progressing through the endgame and completing core content. When you open a map, you can select which tree you would like to use. For a given league, you'll never feel constrained to playing your endgame a single way. You can also label your trees to easily identify which one has which content.
So good.
With all this combined, we're hoping to see new endgame strategies shine through.
C'est tellement bon.
While playing through the campaign in 3.24, you'll notice a myriad of small improvements and surprises.
Mon Dieu.
The fundamentals of the campaign are still intact, but we've scattered fun encounters and secrets throughout Rayclast. The Dweller of the Deep has been trapped.
What?
What are these ritual shrines doing in the northern forest?
Huh.
And why are they giving me omens? This device looks safe. I should definitely use this on my items. There are plenty more encounters to discover. We'll continue adding more surprises in future releases, so keep an eye out. In the previous expansion of 3.23, we released a large number of transfigured skill gems. These are alternate versions of existing skill gems that function in very different ways, allowing for more build and gameplay variety. At the time, our aspirations were higher than we could achieve. We planned more gems than we could make. So, in 3.24, we're adding another set of transfigured gems that we have now finished.
Combien?
Ice Shot, Incinerate, Artillery Ballista, Tornado,
Blazing Salvo,
Elemental Hit, Kinetic Blast, Poisonous Concoction, and lastly, Summon Holy Relic.
God damn it.
Hopefully those of you who missed your favorite skill having a transfigured variant will get that here. We will certainly be adding more of these in the future, especially for skills that are missing them still. Of course, we'll also be doing a balance pass on the existing transfigured gems. One of the main ones we're looking at is Kinetic Bolt of Fragmentation. As a result of this change, it is clear that the in-game potential of the Wander archetype really starts to suffer, mostly in the single target damage department. Due to this, we've added the new support gem, Sacred Wisps. This support gem causes supported skills to create 2 attached wisps for a duration. With these wisps, whenever you attack, they have a chance to also use the same skill, if you have enemies in your presence. And if there are any rare or unique enemies, they will always use the skill. That leads us into all the other quality of life features we're introducing in 3.24. And there's a shitload of
turbo méga broken.
Many of these have been revealed in teasers already, but here's a quick summary. We've added the Automation and Call to Arms skill gems, for being able to trigger instant skills and war cries without having to bind them to left click. You can now hold down Control and left click to automatically apply certain currency orbs until they achieve the desired result, or you run out. For example, you can hold down fusings until you reach maximum links. You will be able to control, shift, click currency into a trade window to automatically move all of that currency at once from your inventory.
Big. Very big.
Detonate Dead now has clearer telegraphing effects.
Ça, c'est un des plus gros changements. En termes de lisibilité,
when harvest crafting, the item hover will always be visible, so you no longer have to mouse back and forth to see the results of your crafts. When you use a Val Orb on a map, the map no longer has a chance to become unidentified. Instead, it adds a new implicit. We've created a set of implicits that affect the areas in fun ways. Related to that, corrupted and mirrored items can now be identified.
Ah ouais.
Breach hands now open upon approach.
Attends, il a perdu sa corruption là. Oh, il a aidé.
Upgrades to Pantheon powers now apply to all characters in a league. You no longer need to grind divine vessels on each new character. With harvest crafting, you can now re-roll Uber Elder fragments.
Okay.
Fragments dropped by the Shaper cannot be re-rolled into fragments dropped by the Elder, and vice versa.
Big.
Regarding Betrayal, we're removing Ashling's crafting bench as a reward. Instead, Veiled Orbs now perform that function. They remove a mod and replace it with a Veiled mod. These orbs now drop from Katarina and are no longer a world drop. Flasks can now be corrupted by Varlords, giving random -10 to +10 quality. The capability to add extra quality to weapons, armors, and flasks has been removed from Betrayal. The Betrayal bench craft that converts an amulet to a talisman has been moved to bestiary, and thus can be traded. Maven invitations no longer drop. Instead, when you have completed witnessing all bosses required to go to the Maven's arena, you can just talk to Kirak, and he'll open a map device window with the invitation already in there, ready to be rolled. Valdo's maps that granted invitations now give scarabs. No more having to waste Guardian kills to try get invitations to drop.
Yep, ça c'est très big ça.
Next up, we're going to be talking about our new League supporter packs.
Big W.
Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs.
L'histoire du River, ça fait toujours chier, mais overall, franchement,
each tier contains the full pack's face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
J'ai toujours pas fini de manger du coup. Vous en avez pensé quoi? En vrai, c'est incroyable, hein? La mécanique de Ligue a l'air bizarre. Elle a bizarre. Ça a l'air bizarre à enchaîner la mécanique de Ligue. Mais l'histoire de crafting avec la mécanique de Ligue a l'air vraiment cool. Wait, what?
The Cosmos weapon effect adorns your weapon with stars.
Et
Hitting enemies causes cosmic energy to spill out into the area around them. The Radiant Orb of Chance extra effect.
J'attends de voir la gueule des transgemmes aussi, ouais. J'ai très envie, selon la gueule de la nouvelle gemme là qui repeat les skills, très envie de partir sur un Wander personnellement là. Franchement, on va voir, hein. Parce que c'est clair que crafter des wands avec la mécanique de Ligue, ça a l'air ok, tu vois, parce que vu que tu peux buff l'apparition des attaques. Parce que c'est ça qui est chiant, c'est chiant de crafter des wands. Il va y avoir du LSV, bien sûr. Mais combien, tu vois?
This one is my personal favorite.
Oh wow.
The Cosmic Turtle Hideout lets you travel the infinite expanse of the cosmos.
Ouais, c'est incroyable. C'est beau, putain.
Carry the weight of the sun on your back with the solar
Achetez.
Witness it grow larger and larger as the energy of slain enemies is funneled into it. When it reaches its maximum size, it goes supernova and turns into a black hole, forever drifting throughout Rayclast. The Eldritch Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. Are you wondering if we moved the stash in the latest patch? Don't be fooled, because with the Mimic Stash Pet, players can transform into an image of a stash when in a town or hideout and scare unsuspecting exiles.
Ok, ça c'est drôle.
This pet follows behind you with its terrifying hand-walking the rest of the time. The Shaper's Slam Finisher effect sends slain unique enemies into a final abyss of unending darkness.
Yeah.
The Eldritch Hunger armor set contains a beast that demands you defeat it by embracing your bloodlust. Watch it grow in power the more you kill until it bursts from the shell of the helmet. Are you able to satiate its hunger? The seed within the Corrupted Growth map device expands its grasp on your hideout the more maps you complete on your atlas.
Damn.
Equipping the Headhunter character effect causes skulls of slain rare enemies to whirl around you like trophies. They become enraged when you are near a rare enemy you are yet to kill, wishing for them to join your collection. Witness a reality where the struggle didn't exist, allowing the Eldritch Horrors to settle their own conflicts with the Eldritch Horror Apparition effect.
Trop stylé.
Which of the Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch do you think will win? These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile Necropolis. Meanwhile, the Shade and Disciple packs leave the store forever at the launch of Necropolis League.
Je te jure, hein, les MTX qu'ils font, c'est incroyable. Hein. Ils bossent tellement dessus.
Thank you so much for your ongoing support.